Hi everyone, welcome into another video. You're probably wondering where I've been, what I've been up to, and why there's been such a lack of content on the channel recently. Bit of stuff to get through. Let's just get straight into it. Okay, so I can't go into everything about this, and I wouldn't anyway. But basically, on the run up to TT this year, I was asked to basically not put out any content without it being sort of pre-approved by the TT. And it's not a case of them trying to control everything. It's not that at all. It's just that you've got to understand how the TT has become such a different thing in the last 5 years, or in the last 10 years. And there's lots of sponsors and people who are on board with the TT who make it happen, and they have a right to oversee how they are sort of portrayed by the TT. And the issue that's come about from this channel is that it can look like an official channel. It's not. It's set up just by myself. It just happens to be called TT Trevor Marshalls because that's what it was concentrating on. But as an official of the event, like we are, you do have to be conscious of what you say and how you say it. And I've always have been. And with a few exceptions, everything I've talked about has been absolutely fine. It's just that you're at a point now where if something isn't, it's a little bit difficult to word it, and I think you need to be a little bit careful, but it's not that it is an official opinion. It's just that it could possibly be perceived as an official opinion. And if that's the case and you say something, it can be then taken as an official statement. And then that can cause problems for the TT and their sponsors. And I completely understand. So some of you will have seen that I made a video before the TT about the new bikes. And this is before I realized there was going to be any kind of issue with that. Previously with Honda, it was never a problem. They were very, very pro, the way to promote what we did and everything. It was very free. And I didn't realize that that was the exception rather than the rule. And with the new manufacturer coming in, they want to have more tightly controlled on what's said about them as a brand. And the TT need to be very careful about the way they negotiate that relationship with them. And you can't have people like myself just saying basically whatever I think and that possibly being looked at as an official statement, because it could be, it's not that I'd say anything negative about it, but it could just be something wrong in there somewhere. And so it's become very difficult. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's become really, really difficult. And I spoke with the TT about it before TT, and we kind of agreed that I'd come up with an idea. They'd say yes or no, or you can do this or that. Then I'd make it. It would then go to them to be watched, checked, edited if need be, which a couple have been, and then eventually said, okay, that's fine, and we can put it out. And initially I was like, okay, we'll do that. But the problem is it becomes such a slow process. Initially hoping that it wouldn't take too long, but you might make a video, and especially during the event when things are so time sensitive, that you make something at the start of practice week, and by the time it's actually at a point it can be released, it could be the start or middle of race week. And everything you talked about is kind of irrelevant now because so much has happened since. And so it becomes a little bit, it's just old news. And then we've got the issue with not being able to obviously talk at all about incidents. And I understand that completely. In the past I've spoke about, it's not a secret that these, you see, this is the problem. So I was sort of like going off a little bit, but like all my videos, nothing is scripted. This is just me talking. The problem you have is, let's say that we're going to make up a name. So we've got a guy called Dave Tyres, and Dave Tyres races the TT, and he has a crash today. And we all know that he's kind of okay, beaten up a bit, maybe a couple of broken bones, and Dave Tyres is in hospital, and he's posted on social media that he's okay and he'll be all right and thing. And then maybe that's an incident I attended. And if I go to that and then talk about anything to do with it, you've got to imagine how that could be seen, viewed, or possibly interpreted in the future should anything happen to him following on from this incident. And you can just imagine, can't you? So if you start looking at it like that, you can see where the problems lie. And so the safe thing, as far as the organisation side of it goes, is just don't say anything, and then we haven't got any problems. Like, there's no potential problems if you just don't mention it. And that then goes for other things, like don't talk really about the bikes, don't show the bikes, talk about the incidents. And it even got to the point, and I'm not trying to like tell you everything that happened and why I don't or do agree with it, but this all started as my personal sort of insight into the travel marshal job, but also my opinion on other things. You know, I'm still a TT fan, and I still want to see somebody do well more than somebody else, because we all have our favourites. It's not that somebody wins and you don't like it, but if you were to say, you know, I hope that Dave Tyers wins, can't say that, because it can be look as though the TT, as an official capacity, has a biased opinion on somebody winning over somebody else. And again, that just can't happen. So you get the gist of what I'm saying. And the point is that we've got to a point where there's so little we can talk about that it's basically become pointless. And it's a real shame, because so many of you guys have been here since the start and come along, and it's been a really good community that's been built. The amount of people who stop me and talk to me about it, who are interested in it, and just appreciate the whole thing is overwhelming at times, especially during the events. And I've hummed and hawed about, do I carry on? Like, because we talked about it, like me and TT, and so we could make some official content about incident management and about things like that, but it would have to be so scripted, and so it would be done in that kind of, that way that you see all these videos done now, where it's all very polished and perfect. And that's never what this has been about, and it's never going to be. It's always been about just sitting in front of the camera and talking. And if you think about YouTube and the way it used to be, it was very like that. It was very rough and ready, and then everything became perfectly polished. It's all drone shots and like classical music and slow-mos. And because everything's like that now, this is now the rare content. And I think people appreciate that, and I think they just want to hear somebody, you know, there's no AI, there's no CGI, there's none of that. It's just basic and raw, and I think that's what people like. And again, I've done my thing, I've gone off topic a little bit, but this was the dilemma. It's just like to the point where it's becoming so difficult to make any content you can talk about, and even if you could, it became such a drag to make it, that I was just like, what's the point? And I've been so busy with day-to-day life, I haven't really had that much time anyway, so that's why there hasn't been any content. But on a personal level, I felt a bit guilty about it, because people have been putting in the comments, you know, why aren't you doing anything? Why aren't you speaking about this? Why aren't you speaking about that? Or what, such a shame, what a lack of content there's been this year, and people were waiting for things and it hasn't come. And then even to the point where people were asking questions, and I always try and reply to questions, and I'm having to just ignore the question because I'm not allowed to answer it, because I can't tell you what I think about that thing you've asked about. So that's been the issue. And like I say, I wasn't too sure what to do. So I think the best thing is a new channel. So the new channel isn't going to be Traveller Marshal related, because that's what we're trying to avoid. Now, I can still, obviously, we all know who I am and what I do, and I can still say that as a Traveller Marshal, we went and did a course last week, and it was to do with this, and you know, it was really good, or whatever. But it's more just about myself, and it's more about the fact that I can still then have a personal opinion on stuff without it being, because it won't be perceived as an official statement from the TT. And it's going to step away mainly from the Traveller Marshal thing anyway. And I got to the point where I was like, maybe I'll do the new channel. And the thing that swung it for me was I put a poll out to you guys last year, because I was asked by a couple of people about riding a couple of different bikes, and do you think it would be a good idea to review them? And I know that loads of you came to watch this channel because it's about being a TM, not about what I think about a tyre or a bike. But I thought I'd ask the question, and I'll pop it up now. I can't remember what it is, but somewhere around 75% of the people said you'd watch the content even if it wasn't TM related. And so I think that's the point where it swung it for me, to the point where I still think it will be worth making stuff. And ultimately, it'll all tell, depending on how many of you guys jump over, subscribe, and watch the new content. Because if you don't, you know, people speak with their feet, and if you don't want to watch it, you won't, and I won't make it, and that'll be the end of it all. But I'm going to give everyone and myself the opportunity to carry on, and if it works and we can keep this little community going and keep talking about all things bikes, then brilliant. And if it's not working, then it's over, and it's quite simple. So what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description, which will take you over to the new channel where you'll be able to subscribe to that, get involved, watch it, and we'll see how many of you jump on the first video, which I've actually just filmed before this. So I know what it's about now, and I had no script for it again. I just started talking, and I think it actually ended up being quite interesting. So head over there, have a look at it, and hopefully you'll all join me on the other side, where we can continue to just be part of this bike community and talk about all things bikes, and yeah, all stay together in that place rather than this one. This isn't a sad end to this. It's just the way it progressed. Like, I didn't see this happening 5, 6, 7 years ago when I started it. I didn't know it was going to get to this point where it was going to be a problem. And the TT didn't either, because they were happy for it to happen, because, you know, it was okay. And it was okay with the current sponsors and okay with the size of people who's watching it. But now it's getting out to more people, and obviously things are a lot tighter in terms of what you can speak about. And I completely understand it. It's definitely not me having a go at it. I completely get it. And that's why we're going the way we're going. So yeah, that's it. Pretty quick. Hopefully that's explained it. And I'll see you all on the other side. There might be more videos on here in the future, like I say, with that more polished professional vibe that we do in conjunction with the TT. Or this might be the last one ever. So if it is, I'm going to say goodbye. Hopefully I'll see you on the other side. And again, maybe for the last time. Thanks for watching.